Let me go ahead and start off with a discussion about respectful chat behavior. Um, First of all, let me just tell you what my expectations are for you during a virtual classroom. Um, and that's a very cute cat, Grace Elizabeth. Thank you. My expectations are that you participate as fully as you can, whether that is speaking up and saying whatever it is that you have to say or typing into the chat. So I just want to make sure that everybody feels like they can participate, that I'm happy to hear everybody's opinions and everybody's thoughts, and that it's not okay to make other kids feel like they can't participate because of whatever reason. Okay. So, what kind of thoughts do we have on that today?
Okay. Um.
Any thoughts that we want to just before we move on? Are we all good with that? Can we type a happy face into the chat if we agree? Okay, and Lucas is giving me a happy face with his camera. Perfect. Okay, good. So I think we're all in agreement that being respectful and being kind to others is really important because we want everybody to feel like they're part of the community and to not feel like they can't participate for whatever reason. Okay. All right. So, sorry, AJ, I muted you. I think I had some background noise from you. Let's go ahead and jump into what we're doing today. Today is a really fun day. We're going to be looking at the rubric that we came up with together, and then we're going to look at a couple rough drafts that people have sent me, and we're going to basically grade them and yeah, and give some feedback. So it's pretty intense. Yes. Go ahead, Lucas.
I haven't set mine because I was just finishing today.
Sure.
My thing. Can I show it on the screen because I made some like special animations for it?
Well, if we don't get to yours today, because I do have some kiddos who told me they wanted to share first, you will for sure be on the list for the 20th. So anybody
Okay.
who doesn't get to share their presentation today and get some feedback, will get some feedback on the 20th. Okay. So the world-class outcomes that we need to keep in mind
Okay.
when we're looking at this rubric and looking at people's products are these first two. They have to do with financial literacy and global awareness. Those are our 21st century skills. So we're going to be looking for the most cost-effective and smart solutions to our problem, and then also products that represent a culture and country accurately. And I'm going to say, and artistically, because we want it to look good too. All right, so without further ado, I just have a couple questions for you before we start looking at the different products that people have sent me. Um, and you could type into the chat or you can just speak up, it doesn't matter. But um, what led you to choose your world class outcome or your 21st century skill? So remember a couple weeks ago, we chose either number one or number two. What made you make that choice?
I wanted to be kind of more artistic.
Perfect, and that was one of my next questions. Was it based on the product that you liked and um, wanted to create? Was it based on how well you personally connected to the world class outcome, so you felt maybe a stronger tie to culture and artistically representing something, or did you feel more closely connected to being cost effective and looking at budgets? Any thoughts on that? I just wanted you to be aware that without really even thinking about it too deeply, you made that choice, and they all linked together. So the product that you chose related to a 21st century skill, which related back to a world-class outcome. So some of you probably worked, instead of from left to right, from right to left, and that's totally fine. Okay. All right. Your happy face in the chat if that makes sense for you. That they all connect together, and no matter how you chose what you chose, or whether or not you really thought about it, they all connected. The world-class outcome, 21st century skill, and the product. Okay. Very cool. Uh-oh, I'm getting a, hold on just a second. I'm going to pause my screen. I'm getting a message. Somebody's probably having a hard time logging on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the rubric for you guys to look at and start refreshing your memory. Let me make it a little bigger. The 3 columns that we're really going to work on together are those, or I should say 3 rows, are the last 3. Because those are the ones that we came up with and developed together. So these are the ones that we're going to look at mostly today. So just start kind of looking through them. Remember, you want to be in the 4s. That's the left-hand side.
And if not the 4s, then the 3s.
Hold on just a second. I'm replying to a student who, oops. Okay. Here, let me pause it so you guys are left on that. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to reply to Patrick. He was confused about which class he was going to come to today. All right. So we're going to be looking at how well a student did with their world-class outcomes, how well a student did with the 21st century skills, and then with the 4 C's, which is creativity, and so forth. So I'm just going to read.
Actually, I have a question real quickly.
Sure.
I wanted to tell you with my final thing, my final thing for the Olympic Games, my design. It was pretty terrible because I had to do it online. But in my final draft, I'm gonna make it on paper and pencil, and then I'm gonna scan it in to put it in the PowerPoint.
And that is perfect. I'm actually going to start with somebody who did just that. They weren't satisfied with how it came out looking on their online or whatever, so they did draw it and then scanned it in. So
my slide.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's just remember that we're here to give positive feedback, but also we want Adam to make sure that he gets, and we're going to start with Adam's example, that he gets the best grade possible, so that he is hitting all of these 4s in the category. So if there's something that you see as we go through it that maybe Adam could improve or change, there's a way to say that nicely, and it's okay. All right, so nobody get your feelings hurt. It's just so that we help each other. All right, so our world-class outcome that we're going to look for, we want to know if Adam had the most cost-effective and smart solution, easily showcased through a meaningful work of art that represents a country fairly and accurately. Okay, so here's the thing with this first one. Even if you did not do the budget analysis, even if you did the photo story, somewhere in there, you're going to have to mention that this, using whatever flower or flowers you chose, is cost effective. You're going to have to say it. You don't have to give as much detail as if you did the budget choice, but you're going to have to put it in there somewhere. Okay, so we're going to look for that. We're going to look for a meaningful work of art, which I can tell you this one already definitely meets. We're going to look for to make sure that we represent the complexity of a culture. So we're going to look at Japan and the culture and see if he talks about that. And then there again, there's that economic choices. Did he make a smart economic choice based on the flowers found in Japan? Okay. And then the digital media. What I mean by enhances communication means if Adam was nowhere to be found and couldn't speak, and he only shared this presentation with me, would it be as meaningful and as powerful as a form of communication? Okay, so would I be able to get what I needed to from his presentation? Is it creative?
Yeah.
And then, of course, did he work well with everybody, including myself? So here we go. So keep this in mind. I'm just going to kind of keep it up on the screen, and you guys just be looking back at it as we go along.
Okay.
A little smaller so you can see all three categories. There we go. All right. First of all, Japan's booklet guide. Do you guys think that maybe there would be a better title than a booklet guide for this whole project? That was just one.
Maybe you could call it. Maybe you could call it. Maybe you could call it Japan Flowers or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole project itself was a photo story, right, for an Olympic bid. So I think the word Olympic should be in there somewhere. So maybe Japan's Olympic flowers or something like that.
Japan's Olympic Guide?
Yeah. Is it okay if I change that, Adam?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so now it's a little bit more meaningful because it has to do with the actual project. And Claire gave a suggestion, Japan's Olympic story. Well, either word I think would work. All right, the cherry blossom. Japan has a favorite flower, the cherry blossom. I think that slide's okay.
And there they are.
And Adam, why don't you go ahead and read this first one for us?
Okay, could you make it bigger, please?
I can, I think. Oh wow, that's really big.
Oh, whoa. Too big.
Yep.
Tree is.
Fine.
Does that help? Well, no.
Yeah.
It's just, okay.
Okay, so
Oh,
about
there we go.
okay. About the cherry blossom. The cherry blossom tree is very important to the Japanese culture. Each spring there is a festival celebration for the cherry blossom tree. Oh, I lost it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, there. People gather in the parks to view the cherry blossom trees. The celebration is called Hanami. The blossoms last only a week, and then life resumes as usual. People go about their daily life as usual.
Okay, so we got a dog in the background.
Sorry.
That's okay. Maybe that person can just mute themselves. Okay, so we have some background on the cherry blossom. And I think background is really good. My only suggestion would be when you're doing a presentation like this, using bullet points instead of writing paragraphs is often helpful. This is like the one time that you don't have to use complete sentences when you make a presentation using PowerPoint or Google presentation. You can use bullet points instead. And it makes it a little cleaner, a little neater, and maybe you just have less overall, and that's okay.
Okay.
Now, symbolism. This is really important. Everybody needs to definitely focus on a good symbol for their country. So he chose the cherry blossom because it symbolizes clouds. And here again, I think bullet points would be a better it's just easier for the eye to immediately look at. If these were bullet points, I could talk about them quickly. Right now, I'm going to have to be quiet and kind of read the paragraph. So everyone just read it.
Okay.
Okay. So I think it should probably have something about Japan cherry blossoms as a title, and then underneath it with bullet points talking about what it symbolizes. It symbolizes clouds, it symbolized art, manga, anime, as well as musical performances. And that would make it quicker and much easier to kind of digest. Now, history of the cherry blossom. Um, let's go back to our rubric here. Looking at our world class outcomes and 21st century skills. Um, well, okay, right here we did talk about the complexity of the culture. So that I guess does kind of cover history. But like I said, I wouldn't put too much just extra information in. And here's why: it kind of distracts from what you're trying to do, which is win the Olympic bid, right? So if you imagine that you're a judge and you're sitting here listening to this presentation, you might get sidetracked if there's too much other information on history. And then down here, there's a slide on sports, which really doesn't fit in too much to what our project is all about. Now, it is cool information, don't get me wrong, but it might sidetrack the judges because really all that they care about is your floral design, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
You think, okay, so I definitely think he has a meaningful work of art, and I'm going to show you his final, like what he drew here in just a second. And I'm getting some, guys, if you have a suggestion, go ahead and type it to everybody in the chat because it's hard for me to like read them um, and talk and show this at the same time. um, However, I do think that he showed a lot of creative thinking, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. He did come up with a good solution. I haven't noticed anything much about the cost, saying that it's good to use a cherry blossom because it's economically smart. Um, but I probably would put that in there. And Adam, if you're still there, I would put it up here about the cherry blossom.
Okay.
I would put something about you chose to use the cherry blossom in your design because it is so abundant in Japan that it would be a good economical choice, right?
Right.
Because we're using cost-effective solutions. All right, I'm going to kind of skip ahead and I'm going to show you a couple other things in his presentation. Okay, so he talked
Now
a little bit.
that's especially my favorite slide.
Yes, it's the Tokyo Tower. It's the capital of Japan. So I do think that this is a good symbol that he could use in his design. I would say that though. Here's the Tokyo Tower. It's an important symbol that I will use in my final design. Okay.
Okay.
And then what do you guys think about Japan's flag? Do you think that kind of falls into that extra information category again?
Yeah, maybe.
However, okay, and AJ said, yeah. If you decided to do something about the land of the rising sun in your presentation or in your final product, you might keep this there, keep this in there. Like for instance, in your final presentation, if you put a sun in there somehow, then maybe I would keep this information about the flag. But if it's not represented in your final design, I don't know if I would keep it in there. Because remember, you don't want them to get sidetracked. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead to the final design. So here's his design of the Tokyo Tower. It represents Japan's favorite flower, and it's made out of cherry blossoms. So he chose to do a cherry blossom representation of that tower I just showed you. So what do you guys think? Is it a meaningful work of art that represents the country fairly and accurately?
Maybe. I guess.
Well, it is accurate that the Tokyo Tower is in the capital of Japan, and Grace Elizabeth gives thumbs up. I think it is fair. I think it's accurate. We know that cherry blossoms are a big part of the culture. I think that that is really clear. So I think all that might be missing is just talking about why he chose um, the cherry flower and why it's cost effective. And let's scroll down here. I think it's very creative. Do you guys agree? Do you think his design is creative?
Yeah.
Okay. It's an authentic solution. So this would be his Olympic bid. So this is what he would be showing the judges. I think it's good.
Me too.
Yeah, so overall, what would be our overall comments for Adam? Okay, so you guys are giving compliments. Whoa, I'm getting some major feedback, so I'm going to mute everybody for a second while that kind of clears itself up. Type into the chat if you have some feedback, and I'm going to type what we've kind of discussed. So be reading. Yeah, I can spell. Okay, so there's one. I think we also talked about decide on relevant information. Good, and that's what Tristan just typed into the chat. Information. So maybe taking out some of, or at least condensing and making it a little shorter, because you do want to show the complexity of a culture, but you don't want to distract them with too much information on history and sports and things that don't have to do with your final design. Okay. All right, guys. So microphone's back on. Adam, what do you think? Pretty good feedback? Okay. I'm not sure if Adam's still there. Yes, go ahead, Grace Elizabeth.
Do we have to work on Valentine's Day tomorrow?
If you are not done with what you should have done by Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow, then yes. So if you have, for instance, not started this project, then yeah. So that's what I was talking about when I said check your email, because I have tried to contact you a couple times. Okay. So we're going to show Emma's next. And Emma, I mean, she's only got a start on it, but it's still, you know, really good start. So totally cool. It won't take long to look at this one. So Emma, you did the photo story, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so she's going to show us the photo story. So she has the Philippines Olympic.
Even though it appears as 3 slides, I only did 2.
And that's okay. So far, I like the title. It's clear. It's ready. And here we go. We have the national flower. So she gave us the name. I like this. You included the scientific name. Adam, that might be one more thing I would add. If you can find the scientific name of the cherry blossom. She told us the reason for choosing it. Oops. Darn it. Perfect. It represents a promise. Okay. And the location, it grows throughout the nation. Well, the Philippines are pretty small, so it grows throughout the entire nation. That's good. So, Emma, are there any other flowers that you're going to include?
Yes, there's poppies and quite a few other flowers.
Okay. So, for
Don't remember
those.
the exact names. There's a hibiscus.
Ooh, nice. And here's one piece of advice for kiddos who do more than one flower. Now, some countries, it's just, I'm going to use one flower and that's it, and that's the way it is. Other countries have a ton of different flowers. If you have a ton of flowers that you're going to use, I need you to tell me why you would use, if you want to get a four, that is, why you would maybe use more of one flower than another. Perhaps one flower is really rare and it's going to cost a lot more to use it. So you're only going to use it as little accent pieces. And you're not going to use it as the main design. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
All right. So far we don't have her meaningful work of art yet because she hasn't done her final design yet, and we don't know much about the cost effectiveness of choosing whichever flowers she's going to choose to use. Okay.
Well, I'm going to use all the flowers I chose.
Okay. Good. And she is getting into the complexity of the culture by telling us what it represents. That's good. It's creative so far, and we can't go too much farther yet because we don't see the final design. But let's make a comment for Emma.
I can tell you what I'm going to do for the final design.
Okay, go ahead.
When we were researching the flowers, we found out that they make a lot of lays. So I'm going to do a lay of flowers, and then one of each of the flowers is going to be an Olympic ring.
Oh my goodness, that is really creative. So yeah, there you go. You're representing the complexity of that culture because that's something that they do a lot there is make plays. That's great. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Thank you.
my final design is really terrible. I don't know what it represents. It just looks so terrible on the computer.
well, that's one thing that you're going to be able to fix. Lucas is dying to go next. Would that be okay, Tristan?
Sure.
Okay, so Lucas, you're going to have to share it with me. Did you send it to me? Did you email it?
Yes.
Okay, so let me look at my email right now. Let me pause my screen. I'll go find it.
I wasn't able to email it to you, so I think I could. Should I email it to you now or something?
Yeah, go ahead and try that now and then jump back in when you're ready to look at Lucas's, okay? All right. So we have Lucas's, and he did the country of Mexico. Oops, skipped too far ahead. I'm going to use the Mexican flag in my floral design. Okay. So maybe if this is going to be a title page, maybe you would change it and not have a complete sentence, have a title instead. What do you think?
Okay.
Okay. So let's make that comment.
And I also put the Mexican I used or Spanish words. I used Google Translate and I turned it to Spanish as well.
I love it. I can see that. That's really cool. Ooh, all right. So we have Mexico's flower. And again, it looks like he translated it for us, which is really cool. So what I think you might be missing on this is a scientific name, if there is one. I think there is. I think you might need to add why. Oops. it represents Mexico
Okay.
and why you chose it. Okay?
Okay.
Because so far, we don't really know. So far, we don't have his final project to look, or maybe we do. We'll get there. Also, he hasn't talked much yet about cost effectiveness. Is this the only flower you're going to use?
On the next page, I might use some other flowers.
Ooh. Ooh, Mexican cactus. Okay. All right. So then you need to decide. Oh, gosh, I hate it how it skips around like that. Sorry. Okay, so you need to tell us. Comment. All right. Need to tell us why you chose to use more of one flower or another. The cost effectiveness, okay? So maybe these flowers that we're looking at are more expensive than cactus because cactus you can find everywhere. Or perhaps maybe these flowers in the right here are pretty easy to find. Also, definitely label them. Tell us what they are, okay?
Okay.
All right. So far, I do see some creative thinking. I do think he's enhancing the communication. I don't see anything yet about economic choices that he made in his flowers. I do think that he is representing the country, though, because these are symbols. And let's go to his last slide. Ooh, the main colors in his design will be green, white, and red, like the flag. Okay. All right, so when he gets to his final design, I think it will showcase a meaningful work of art that represents the country. I think the only part that you're really missing, Lucas, is this cost effectiveness piece. Okay?
Okay.
And some of the more scientific names and reasons why you chose those flowers.
Okay.
Any other comments? Sorry, I'm going kind of fast. Any other comments for Lucas?
I think it's very, very, very good.
It's really nice and colorful for sure.
Yeah.
So I think you definitely have a really good start. Okay, so a lot of my 10-15ers are showing up, and that's totally fine. 10-15ers, just sit and wait for a couple minutes and hang out and look at some of the other presentations. Let's see here. Tristan, did you email me
I don't know if it's back on yet.
your presentation? Maybe. Let's go look. Okay, yes, got it. He named his school. That's funny. Flowers of India. Woo! This looks cool. Oops, went too far. And Claire's asking in the chat if we should have had a presentation by today. If not today, then for sure by the 20th, which is when everybody else needs to have their rough draft done. Okay? All right. So my 10-15ers, it looks like a lot of you are here. Let's see. Clara, Jade, Patrick. Well, a couple people are still missing. Okay, so 10-15ers, what we're doing is we're going over the rubric and a couple examples. So hang tight, and then we'll start over when everybody else gets here. Yes, Claire.
How do I just get a blank Google document?
Okay, so when you go to your Google Drive, you go to Create and go to Document. But do you want to, or do you want a presentation like we're looking at?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's take a look right quick at Tristan. So Tristan, I noticed that you deleted your title slide. Is there a reason? Might not be there. No, interesting. Oh, his microphone's off. Okay, well, he did have a title slide, and so this is about India.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, this is his Olympic bid for India. Okay. All right. So we're looking here at the bamboo orchard. Orchard.
Orchid.
Orchid. Yes, you're right. Gosh, I'm not good at flowers. It is also known as, and this is the scientific name, the orchid blooms in the summer and in the autumn. There are sheaths clasping the stem. The brackets are wide, triangular, and surround the main stalk of the flower cluster. Okay, so I think I have the same feedback for Tristan as I had for Adam, that bullet points make presentations easier to read. Ooh, get some feedback there. Oops. Paragraphs. And, okay, so I will definitely let him fix that. But let's go to our rubric. We don't, well, it does look like he has a meaningful work of art at the very last slide. It looks like he's going to use more than one flower, so he needs to talk about which flower he's going to use more of and why. Okay, because maybe one is more cost effective than the other. So, which flower are you going to use more of and why? Also, we need to talk about why this flower and any flower that you use represents India. Doesn't mean anything. Some flowers, like I could just give you the cherry blossom example, some flowers mean something, like, wasn't it peace, I think, was the cherry blossom. All right, guys, I turned your microphones back on, so hopefully there's no more feedback.
I wanted to tell you something, by the way. The title and one of my slides are gone.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, how that got, oh man, major feedback from somebody. Let me just do some guessing. Hold on. Oh my gosh, that is super annoying. It's Grace Elizabeth. Okay, sorry Grace, you have been muted because you had some major feedback. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm not sure what happened to your title slide, but you can go ahead and recreate that pretty easily, I think, and make sure.
Yeah, it's not the title page, it's just a slide that's missing too. And the title page.
Huh. I don't know what happened.
Maybe it was accidentally deleted.
Possibly. Yeah, I don't know, Tristan. Hopefully you can recreate them pretty easily, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
And then we have Magnolia. I would give you the same feedback on this page using bullet points instead of paragraphs, making sure you tell me which flower you're going to use more of and why, and then if it represents anything. Sometimes flowers represent like peace or harmony or whatever, okay? And then it looks like you have one more. Same would go for that one. Okay, so you're going to use 3. And then your final design. So your final design, so you can,
Terrible.
it's okay. You can draw it and scan it in. It's totally fine. So you know,
I'll do that. So.
Yeah. So tell us why you made the final design look like it does. So what are we looking at here? Are we looking at like an Olympic ring? Is that?
It's no, it's really terrible. It's just because it wasn't supposed to look like that, but the computer made it look like that. It's supposed to actually be the 4 different flowers that I did.
Oh,
The lotus flower, bamboo orchid, magnolia, and the other red flower.
okay.
And since I couldn't use white for the magnolia, I used blue, bright blue.
Okay. Okay, so I'm typing something. Hold on. So I'm going to challenge you, Tristan, to use those 4 flowers, but to find a symbol that represents India. Okay? So think of a symbol that might represent the culture of India more so than just a circle. Okay? So is there something in India that maybe you can recreate using those flowers? Think back to like Adam's Tokyo Tower using cherry blossoms. So is there something like that in India that you can recreate that's more of a symbol of Indian culture?
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
I'll do that.
okay, perfect. So all of that feedback is on here. And yes, Adam, sorry, I didn't even know you were muted, but you're unmuted now. Um, Everything else, I think, Tristan, also making sure that you just tell us about the economic choices that you made. You'll be good.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, my 10:15 group is here, so my 9:30 group, that was almost perfect timing. You are free to go.
Bye.
Yay.
Bye.
Have a nice Valentine's Day.
You too.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You
Hey,
too.
that's tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a game tomorrow.
Yeah. Yay, Jaden's excited about Valentine's Day. So's Micah. Yay. Okay.
I'm not.
All right. All right, so we should only have probably 10 15ers in here with us.
Sorry, I'm just trying to put my volume there.
Totally fine. We have Sienna, we have Clara, we have Jade, Jaden, and Tyler V. Perfect. We are ready to start. All right, so today, and I don't think this actually really applies to anyone in this particular group, but just remember that when you're chatting back and forth, either, well, I mean, basically to another student, to be respectful. My expectation for you is that everybody participate as fully as they can, whether it's by talking or by using the chat feature. So I think there's been some incidents where people have been not very nice to another student using the chat, and we don't want that to happen. We want everybody to feel like they are part of the classroom and that they're safe to contribute. Give me a happy face if you agree and you're good to go with that. Okay, cool. All right. I think there was more of a problem with our last group, but either way, I just wanted to address it. And it's totally fine if you don't have your rough draft ready by today. You will have it ready by the 20th. And then your final presentation will be the 24th. So, so here we go. Our world-class outcomes for our project were these first 2, and they connected with our 21st century skills, Jaden. Very nice hand gestures. I would probably suggest that maybe we stop or turn off your camera. Either way. So we're going to review how, and we're not going to spend much time on this, but how did we choose the world-class outcome that we did? So here were our 2 choices. Either we chose to find the most cost-effective and smart solutions, or products to represent a culture and country accurately and artistically. So when you were choosing your world-class outcome, and I'm going to bring up the menu, what made you or helped you make your choice? Hi, Patrick. Welcome back. Did you make your choice based on which product you wanted to create?
I did a on which product I thought would be easier for me.
Okay, good. So talk a little bit more about that. Why do you think it would be good for you? Is it because you felt more comfortable in one area, or is it because you wanted to challenge yourself to do something um, harder for you?
I felt more comfortable in one area.
Okay, so and that's totally fine. So maybe you chose the product that you did, which led to the 21st century skill and world class outcome, because you felt more comfortable. Perhaps you chose it because, and Clara just typed into the chat, because it was more interesting to her. So there again, probably more of what you're comfortable with. And it's good to have choice. One day you might not have a choice. One day you might just have to, you know, do whatever. But either way, I just wanted you to be aware of how they all linked together. Okay? They were meaningfully planned. All right, here we go. Woo! All right, lots of talking. So we have the rubric that we created together shown on the screen. Now, these first two categories, we're not going to focus on as much because that's more for me. The ones that we developed together were these last three: the world-class outcomes, 21st century skills, and then your creativity, communication, critical thinking, and collaboration. So we're going to make sure that everybody's work that we look at today is falling into that 4 category. Or maybe we can give them suggestions on how to get there. Okay? So notice when you're looking at this first category, the most cost-effective and smart solution is easily showcased through a meaningful work of art that represents a country fairly and accurately. Even if you did the photo story, it looks like you have to talk a little bit about why you chose the flowers you did as cost-effective. You don't have to be as detailed as the budget, but you still have to have something in there, right, about finances. If you chose the budget, you still have to have a meaningful work of art. Okay? So whether or not you feel like you chose one product because you were more comfortable with it, you still get a taste of both. Also, here we go, complexity of another culture as well as economic choices. Okay, so there again, culture and economics are represented. And then last but not least, your creative thinking. It's an authentic solution. It's not completely unreasonable, in other words. And then you're going to work well with your classmates, mostly giving them feedback today. Okay? All right, are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. We have Tyler V from this group who has shared with me so far. And then we can look at anybody else who is here and has a rough draft ready. If not, then we can look at some of the other kiddos. So let me bring up Tyler's. Oh, look at how many emails I get in like 30 minutes. Ah, right. All right, so let's bring up Tyler's. Okay, there we go. It's downloading. There, okay. Sorry, PowerPoint does kind of take a while to actually get loaded.
Yeah.
Kind of annoying.
Word takes longer for me though.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that? It just takes forever. Okay. Hello, there we go. Okay, so he chose to use PowerPoint instead of Google presentations, and either one are completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Take a drink of water. Hold on. First of all, our title page. Are we really doing a presentation on Brazil's national flowers? Or are we doing a project more on Brazil's Olympic bid? I think if I were you, I would probably change this to say something more like Brazil's Olympic floral design or Brazil's Olympic bid.
Yeah, no, I have two copies like that, but I sent the wrong one and the other one wasn't saved.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that was just my first suggestion. Here we go. All right. So we have both of what he needed, the scientific name as well as the regular name. And it looks like he's going to use 5 different types of flowers. I like how you have this kind of summary page before we get into the different types. I chose it should be these flowers, right? These flowers because I think personally that they go great tougher color and shape wise. Hmm. So maybe some little grammatical errors here and there. Um, but basically, you're doing the budget, right?
No,
So,
I chose the other one.
or are you doing the photo story?
I'm doing the photo story. I did not pick the budget.
Oh, okay. So you are doing the photo story. Perfect. So here's what, and this goes for everybody. So listen closely. If you choose more than one flower and you're doing the photo story, even though you don't have to get real detailed about what each one will cost, you need to tell me, are you going to use more of the first one or more of the third one? And why? Perhaps maybe these two, and I don't know, I'm just making this up, but maybe these two are really common, and so they would be pretty economical to use. But maybe this last one is super expensive, so you're only going to use it as accent pieces, just like a couple of them here and there. Or maybe all of them are really expensive, but the one that grows everywhere and is really cheap is this one. So does that make sense? Happy face in the chat if that makes sense about choosing and telling me why you chose these flowers and why you chose to maybe use more of one. Okay, because that's going to be important to reach that 4 level. Look, guys, look back. You have to have the most cost effective solution and a meaningful work of art, which is your final design. So you can't overlook that cost effectiveness. Okay? All right. Now let's move on. So we have, it looks like one of like the first flower that he's choosing to tell us about. Why don't you read it, Tyler?
Okay, let me just kind of zoom in. It's kind of tiny.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. I'll try to make it 200%.
No, it's okay. I can do it. I can do it.
Oops. Sorry.
If I have to, I can't just load it up on PowerPoint and read it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's taking a while for you to load it up. Okay, no worries. Basically, he's telling us he's using this very beautiful flower, and he's telling us where it's found within Brazil. I'm noticing that he didn't capitalize a couple things, so that's just one thing to go back. But here is a hint that everybody needs to be aware of, and that's okay, Corbin. I just got your message. Um, you're doing a presentation, whether it's a PowerPoint or a Google presentation, using bullet points is a really smart thing to do. Try to get away from using paragraphs. Um, it's just the one time that you don't have to use a complete sentence, guys, so take advantage of it. It makes it a lot easier for the person to locate what you're trying to say quickly without having to read the entire thing. Okay? All right,
Okay.
sorry, PowerPoint's being sensitive. There again.
Here, if I have to, I can just go into my PowerPoint and read it if I have to.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, and it's really not a big deal. Like, what we need most from you, Tyler, is to tell us how much of this orchid are you going to use? Is it really popular so it would be cost effective for you to use a ton of it? or is it not very popular because it's only found in um, the southern little jungle region of Brazil? So you need to tell us that kind of information as well.
Well, the reason why I chose some of these flowers though was because on the flowers they have some of the colors of the Olympic rings, and I'm not done with it because I want to see if I can find one more flower to add, and then I'm gonna use it to make the Olympic rings.
Ooh,
That's
that's
my final
really
design.
good. Okay, and see, that was another point I was going to get to towards the end. Your final floral design is going to be the Olympic rings. Well, that's great. That's really symbolic and that's awesome. And so you are
Because
trying to find colors that represent the Olympic rings.
while making still like not these ugly rotten flowers.
Sure. Well, let me challenge you though. What if you find out that one of the Olympic rings, like maybe your red one here, is super expensive? How are you going to fix that problem?
Well, there are actually many red plants, but the thing is the Quellinatisto is very common because it grows on I can't remember what they're called, but they grow on these plants and they grow on the sides and near the roots of trees, so they absorb as much water as possible. So they're very common.
Okay, so your red ring has taken is being taken care of. Great. Clara
And
suggested
then
that
plus
maybe
the
you can make the ring
Catalyze
smaller.
Labyrinthia.
Mhm.
I do not know how to say it, but the Catalyze. It is also extremely common in the middle is usually, or like the snout-like part is usually red.
Oh, okay. So that's another good one. You can maybe use assorted shapes of the rings, or and that was a suggestion from Clara. Or maybe you can find a substitution. Um, if you find that one of those colors would be much more expensive. Perfect. Now, we don't have a final work of art to look at yet. You don't have your final design ready, but it needs to represent the country and it needs to represent the complexity of a culture. Let me challenge you. How does the Olympic rings represent Brazil?
Well, now that was not the other thing. I was going to continue saying that I'm not only trying to make the Olympic rings, but also all I need is the last bit of green, and I'm able to make the flag of Brazil.
Oh, perfect. Okay. That's much more representative. Representative.
Like have the Brazil flag made out of flowers on the top, and then the Olympic rings at the bottom type thing.
Oh, there you go. Now that's representing the country. That's recognizing some of the complexity of their culture. Um, I'm
Yeah,
going
I
to show
haven't
you
been
guys
able to
another
do this
example here.
because
Go
the
ahead.
internet was kind of screwed up, so I wasn't really able to access the resources I needed to finish this, so I wasn't really able to get too much done.
Totally fine because it's not completely due until the 24th, and today is the
Yeah.
13th, so you're good. I would say that you definitely have some creative thinking, listening to what you're going to create. Um, I think you're working well with everybody. I do think you have an authentic solution. As long as you start throwing in a little bit more information about the economic choices that you make. Okay. All right.
Okay, I just gonna make economic means the surroundings it's around or the people that may live near it.
Say that again,
This is
Tyler.
like this is when you say more like details, what type of more details? Like more on who lives near the area that they grow, or
Yes. Yes. More
okay.
of like the region that they grow in and why you chose it, how it
Yeah,
represents.
that part's probably the hardest just because there's not too much facts about these flowers.
Oh, okay.
Because a couple of these are found off like people that just made this random website for flowers. For example, one flower website I used for it, the person that made it though didn't know half of them what they were because there's so many flowers in Brazil. But so like I tried to get as much information as possible, but it was hard to find like where they grow and stuff. So
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's probably not the most important piece of information. What would be really cool is if they represent something, um, because then it can be more closely connected to the culture of Brazil. Because,
well,
yes,
actually, I think the
Brazil
catalog,
is lots of flowers to choose from.
yeah, I think the catalog is actually uses I can't remember what, but it represents like something in the country.
Okay.
Can't remember what it is.
Are there any final comments for Tyler and how he can reach a 4? Or did we cover it in these categories? Okay. I think we're getting happy faces. No other comments. So take the suggestions that you've had, and I think you'll be good. All right, do I have any other volunteers to show their rough draft today? If not, we're going to look at a different one.
I don't.
Okay, so we will look at another example of a photo story. And we're going to look at Japan, which you guys are kind of familiar with the Japan one because I had shown you
Yeah.
an example of Japan at the very beginning. Okay, it's taking a minute. Here we go. Okay, so obviously he chose the cherry blossom. Apparently, it's the national flower there of Japan and it's very abundant. So it's a good economical choice. However, he needs to tell us that. Then, here again, I had the same suggestion for him to use bullet points. When a person is doing a presentation and reading it, if I have a bullet point with just the main points, your eyes will go directly to it. Right now, I cannot talk and read this paragraph at the same time. But if there were bullet points, I'd be able to do that. And so it's a lot better when you're doing a presentation. This is an important one, though. This is something that all of you need to make sure that you get in there, depending on whatever flowers you chose. He talks about what they symbolize. Okay, so again, I would have Japan cherry blossoms symbolize, and then I would put a colon, and I would just have a bullet point. They symbolize clouds. Next bullet point, Japanese art. Next bullet point, manga. Last bullet point, anime. Okay, makes it a lot more clear and easy to read. History of the cherry blossom. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we really, looking at our world-class outcomes and our 21st century skills, do we need to talk much about the history? Jaden says no. Okay. I don't think so. I think what we're focusing on more is cost-effective solutions for the flowers and then representing your country. Okay, so I think this might be extra information that I would probably just take out. Here again, what do you guys think? Is this needed? Imagine that you are an Olympic judge and this Japanese person is presenting their floral design. And then all of a sudden they go off on a tangent talking about other countries where cherry blossoms are. What do you think? Nope, I'd probably take it out. You're right.
No.
Okay. And not that it's not good info, it totally is. It's just too much. Now, this is important. Tokyo Tower. I would leave this in, and here's why I would leave this slide in. I would say I chose the Tokyo Tower because, oops, here's the final design. He made cherry blossoms with the Tokyo Tower. Okay, so that's how he is representing Japanese culture, as well as having a meaningful work of art. This is also missing the cost effectiveness. kind of like we were talking about. Like, why did he choose the cherry blossoms? Well, because they're cost effective, they're found all over. And we notice that it has a lot of extra information that we're going to, or he's going to take out. Okay. Things like that slide. Ooh, talking about Japan's sports. Mm, that you might be able to sell it that you're talking about the complexity of Japan, but unless your final design includes something with one of these sports, I think I would leave it out. What do you guys think? Yeah, okay. That's what most people are saying. Okay, not that it's not great, because it really is. I was really impressed. He was the first one to share his rough draft. Now let's look at another one. Okay, so this is for the Philippines. All right, take a second. I like this slide. She doesn't have much. She only has one flower so far, but look how clear and easy it is to read. It's not quite bullet pointed, but it's nice and neat and short. What do you guys think? It is good. She also told us why she chose it, because it represents promise and it's the national flower. That's important. What she's missing is if she, and she did tell us, you guys weren't here for this, that she has like 4 more flowers that she's going to include. If you're going to use more than one flower, and you don't have to, but if you do use more than one flower, you better talk about why you chose
It
to
would
make
make it more.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Okay, sorry, I didn't interrupt you. It would just make it more like detailed.
Yeah. And I think, if you use more than one flower, just talk about why you used a ton of one flower and not so much of another. Um, Japan, for instance, it looks like he was going to use just one flower, and that's okay too. But maybe one flower is really hard to find, and it's only found in the very southern tip of the country, so you wouldn't use too much of that flower, right? Okay. All right. Let's see. And I did have one more. Let me see if I can find Tristan that I can show you. Okay, I'm pulling up another one. He titled his school. That's funny. I think I would have titled it, and this is for India. Okay, so here again, I would use bullet points. He's going to use more than one flower. I can see that there are 3 flowers that he's going to use. He needs to tell us why he's going to use more of one and less of another. He needs to tell us what they represent, if they represent something. And then here is his final design, which he decided that he's going to end up drawing instead of doing online. So like that one example that we showed you, you can draw it and scan it in if you're unable to create something online, okay? Now, here was the challenge for this kiddo. I wanted him to find something that represents India. This is just a circle. And he was like, I'm just going to do a circle with the 4 flowers that I chose. Well, that doesn't really represent India. However, something like that Tokyo Tower, that represented Japan pretty well. The flag of Brazil, that represents Brazil. Something that relates to the actual country. Okay. Any questions so far? I'm about to answer your question, Corbin. Okay. So next Thursday, that's a week from today, we're going to look at more rough drafts and look at the rubric again. So now these brave kiddos have some feedback, and they can, you can resend it to me if you want me to give you more feedback. totally fine. And then we're going to present on the 24th. I think all kids, actually, it would be kind of fun if all kids could come at 9:30 so that you could watch all of them. But if you can't, I understand if you have to wait till 10:15. All right, no VCs on Monday because it's President's Day, and happy Valentine's Day, friends. That's tomorrow. So, yay, Jaden's excited. Anything before I let you go?
Oh yeah, one thing. I'll just wait until everybody goes to sleep. Let's sleep quiet.
What was that, Tyler? You wanted to tell everybody what?
I said I did that one mission.
Oh, okay.
When you send the email saying that histograph's not necessary, do you mean we don't have to do it at all, or just for this, not for this VC?
Um. Making a graph for using that data.
Yeah, the histograph.
The histogram. Tyler, it was more of a lesson on, do you realize the connection between exercise and BMI level? If you want some extra practice, I would definitely love to see your histogram, but I'm not going to make you do it or grade it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, friends, happy Valentine's Day, happy President's Day, and I will see you later.
Bye.
All right.
Bye. Bye.
Happy Valentine's Day.
You too.
Bye.